Okay, well, hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm PCJ Law. I'm here to play some Deity AI single player with you today. The settings we've got on, we'll show them to you here. Now we're playing as America. Manifest Destiny, all land military units have +1 site and 50% discount when purchasing tiles. Decent ability, but they're a pretty generic civ overall. They give no real sim benefits apart from when purchasing tiles. But you wouldn't usually do that anyway, but hey, maybe as America we'll make some use out of it. We'll be on the standard vanilla Pangea. This is the base game one, no mods, no anything like that. We are on low sea level and strategic balance, which means we're going to be guaranteed horses, iron and oil throughout the course of our game. And then the low sea level, hopefully that's to give us a little bit more land to settle on here. Some of the other settings we've got going on, we're on small map size. This is just emulate multiplayer settings. I play a lot of multiplayer. So this will help us get used to playing multiplayer, and we'll be playing on Deity and on quick speed, again to emulate multiplayer, although Deity is not really a true representation of what's going to go on in multiplayer. In multiplayer you might have a chance to get a few early wonders against Deity AI, not so much. But we're here as America, we're just starting off. Hopefully throughout the course of this game I can give you a few tips as well. Some of the things you can and can't do to try and beat Deity AI, and then some of the things that we can transfer over into multiplayer as well. We'll take a look at our start here in a minute. But welcome to the channel. So looking at the start, and by the way, just in case any of you ask me, we're playing with Enhanced User Interface. It's a mod for Civilization 5. It's a very good one at that. It gives you a lot of extra functionality. You can see here I've got some units displayed to me at the bottom here, so I always know which units I've got. You know, there's a changed score function just up here on the top right, which is quite good. And then there's some other things we'll see throughout the course of the game. One nice little feature here is when you hover over and you're holding a settler like this, what you see is you can get an outline of the tiles that are going to be within the 3 rings of your city. So that's really helpful for judging where a good spot will be. And you can even hover over here, and you get some extra details about some of the bonus shields that you can get to the tiles when either you improve them with your workers or with other things such as trading posts or further technologies. Anyway, looking at this start, it seems fairly good actually. We've got a long river system that's going to be expanding both sides of our capital, which is great. Some tiles north, some tiles out here to the west. And we've actually got 2 granary tiles within our first ring, which is really, really good. And we're doing this stream with no restarting and no re-rolling, which seems a bit of a shame because we've actually locked into quite a good start. I would have liked to have played this with a worse start just to show you some things which could work with anything. But hopefully we'll get a good demonstration here. As it turns out, we've actually had pretty good luck of it. Just me. When we say no re-rolling, no reloading, I get an actual nice start like this. But what makes this start quite nice? Well, as I said, we've got these 2 granary resources within the first ring. That's really nice. It means we'll be able to work 2 food and 1 production tiles throughout, I guess, our early game when we're making settlers, and then while we're growing to pop 3 before we start making settlers, which would be really nice. And we're even starting on a hill. We didn't even have to move to this hill. We've spawned on it, which is going to save us some turns from moving onto a hill. And a hill is great to start on. In Vanilla Civ 5, it's a bit different if you play some mods like the NQ mod or the LEC mods, which you may come across on this channel from time to time. But basically, when you place your city, when playing Civ 5, you get something. The yield that's on the base tile underneath where you settle is in some way applied to your starting city. So your starting city by default is going to get 2 food and 1 production. Now, if the tile that you settle on has more than 2 food, then you're going to get an extra food for your city. And if the tile that you settle on has more than 1 production, you're going to get that extra production for your city. So, here we see that we're on a hill, and the hill's got 2 production. Now our standard palace will give us 2 food and 1 production. So we notice we've got an extra production here. So we're going to get this extra production from our city tile for the entire game. And, you know, you're not going to be working too many hills until you get to, say, you know, maybe turn 130 or 240 on quick speed. So starting on a hill like this isn't really losing you anything, and instead what you gain is this extra 1 production right off the bat. So we're going to have a high production capital to start with, which is going to be really nice for us because we're going to be working these 2-1 tiles. That's going to give us extra production here too. And so we'll settle in place. There really seems no obvious reason to move here. I'll probably scout with this warrior, but I'm not interested in going towards the coast at all. It takes us away from all of these great tiles. So what I think I'll do is potentially move us down just a couple of tiles, maybe on top of this copper, to see if there's anything that we would consider moving our capital for. And perhaps there is. I really wish I hadn't moved here because it would have made the settling choice a lot easier. But alas, it's not to be. And the reason why this is made a bit more difficult is because we've moved down and we've revealed desert. And why is desert so good? Well, it's because we'd have access to the Pantheon Desert Folklore, and Desert Folklore will allow us. It gives you +1 faith when you're working desert tiles, and that will be really powerful to get us a religion. So that could be great. Many of you will think Petra when you think desert tiles, but on Deity AI, I promise you're not getting Petra. So we're going to just completely ignore Petra as if it's not in the game. Perhaps we'll take the city with Petra in it later. So next is about whether or not we really want to try for a religion. It's probably going to be a 2-turn move. I would say if we're going to move for the desert here, we would probably still want to try and start next to this wheat. And it would be nice to settle on a desert tile if we were going to take Desert Faith or Desert Folklore. So we'll take 1 turn move into here, we'll take a 2nd turn move into here, we'll be plonking ourselves down on, I guess it'd be called turn 2. We'll be plonking ourselves down here, but we've actually delayed by a couple of turns with all of our capitals production and things. I really don't feel like there's a reason to give this up here. We can just settle another city in here somewhere later, perhaps even right next to the Barringer Crater for an observatory. So I think we'll still settle in place. At the end of the day, we keep all of these great tiles. I mean, all of this copper and these furs are going to be bright in our 2nd ring, so that's going to be quite nice. So we'll settle right in place. And hey, at least we get 1 extra happiness from the discovery of a natural wonder, if only we were Spain. But we wanted to play a generic Civ, so we'll settle. And immediately switch to production focus. Now we're going to switch to production focus because when your city grows, your city will... Well, basically, I guess you don't get your yields during your turn. You get all of the yields in that it says up here, such as, +3 gold per turn, +1 culture, +4 science. Down here, where you got +6 hammers, you get all of that in at the start of a turn, even your +2 food. That all comes in right at the start of the turn before you get to do anything. And what this means, and the significance of this really, is that it kind of goes, and I don't know the exact order of this, but what I do know is that food always comes first. What does that mean? Well, when food comes first, in order to get a new citizen, you need to accumulate the number of food that you can see hovered over in the top left-hand corner here. It says 2. It says you got a picture of 2 and then a citizen and then 0 out of 10 food. And so what happens is that when you pass that benchmark of 10 food or whatever number it becomes for whichever population, the number gets bigger for each population point you go up. When you pass that, a new citizen is born, and that's the first thing that's calculated when we start in Civ 5. So right now it's going to take me 5 turns to grow, and on that 5th turn, because I'm gaining +2 food right now, you can see it here from working this wheat tile. On that 5th turn, what will happen is first it'll count the food. It'll give me 2 food, I'll get to 10, it'll give me a new population point. Then, food is the first thing to do, which means that all the other things that come in, such as adding your gold, adding your science, adding your faith, adding your tourism, adding your culture, and adding your population, they all come next, which means this new citizen that was born actually contributes to the yields that I get given at the start of my turn. Which means that this extra population point that comes in, it can give me production, gold, science, faith, tourism, and culture for whatever tile it lands on when it gets created. So we click production focus because food and production are really the most important things for this part of the game. So when we click production focus, what happens is our new settler will come in on the highest production. Our new citizen will come in at the highest production tile available to us. Now at the moment we've only got 1 hammer tiles available to us, so it's not going to do too much. But the point is this new citizen comes in on the highest production tile that we've got. Maybe it'll be this copper by the time we grow, and then we'll get that yield. We'll get +2 production and +2 gold right at the start of our turn. If we were on food focus, then it would go on to the most food focused tile. And so say we had this copper in our borders, and say we even had this bit of desert in our borders. If we had food focus, we'd go to the 2 food. Now food's already been counted at the start of the turn, so we wouldn't actually get the bonus shield from these 2 foods here. But because production is not counted by the time the citizen is born, then we actually get the additional 2 production and 2 gold in this case, if we were to grow to, say, this, if our new citizen were to go to this copper tile. So that's why we go on production focus straight away. And then we've locked down the tiles that we actually want to work. So we've locked down our growth tile in this case. And our growth tile is going to be a 2 feed 1 production tile. Now, in the early game, 2 food tiles can be counted as growth tiles. And that's because, we only need at this point, 10 excess food in order to generate our next citizen, which means that 2 excess food can be doing that in 5 turns. But once you get past, say, turn 50, turn 60, turn 70, growth tiles aren't really 2 food tiles anymore. They're not even really equalization tiles. You're sort of losing a bit of growth if you're working a 2 food tile. So later on in the game, we're going to be wanting to work 3 food tiles for growth. But right now, a 2 food tile will do. We've got 2 food and 1 production, which is going to allow us to knock this scout out in 3 turns, which is going to be great. And we're going to go for research now. We've actually got the option for a decent Pantheon here. So I'm going to take pottery so that we can build an early shrine. But whenever I start the game, it's usually a choice between which 3 techs do I want to go with: pottery, animal husbandry, or mining. I'll pick pottery if I feel like I need the granary or the shrine, although the granary is a very, very overrated building in the early game. The shrine, however, is very important to, especially tradition empires. A pantheon can be really, really powerful for you, and it can also really get you on the path for getting a religion. If you leave your shrine too late, you might lose the chance of getting a religion, even if you get a great faith-producing pantheon. And on Deity AI, that's especially important. Now, we are on Deity AI, which means that we're actually quite unlikely to get a religion, and even if we get a religion, the AI will probably just use a great profit and knock our religion out of the water. So we're not going to try for religion too much. Against Deity AI, I quite like taking growth pantheons, or even, we'll change this back to production focus after I gave that big speech about it. I quite like taking growth pantheons or culture pantheons, but some faith is quite nice too. And we'll get some good faith from this copper, so perhaps I'll take a faith pantheon anyway. We might even try for desert folklore, but I'm going to give up on a religion here, I think, straight from the start. And if one comes, one comes. But, you know, you could easily get 3 AIs taking piety, and the other one gets Mount Kailash or Mount Sinai or something and just get blown out of the water for religion. So we won't do that. So, I think this brings us to the end of our first turn. Oh, I forgot to mention why I might choose some of these other techs. So, the 3 techs that I might choose from at the start of the game, they're generally pottery, animal husbandry, or mining. I wouldn't choose archery, just because, I mean, you take archery if you need an archer, or if you want the Temple of Artemis. Now, the Temple of Artemis is an incredibly good wonder, but we'll discuss a bit later why building world wonders, especially before you've built your settlers, is really, really not worth it, and it's extremely the case against Deity AI. And then an archer, you know, it's for dealing with barbarians. We don't need to deal with any barbarians right now, so we won't worry about that. So our choice really is pottery, animal husbandry, or mining. The first question to ask is probably, do I want a shrine? And if you do, you'll take pottery, and that's pretty much done deal. If you don't need a shrine, you've got the flexibility to choose between husbandry and mining. Now, there's no real benefit to choosing mining straight away, not unless you build an early worker, and in this case, I'm probably not going to build an early worker, but it's really up to you. But you take mining specifically if you want to chop some forests, or if you feel like you really need to get some spearmen out, or reveal iron on the map, which can be good, but we can wait a little bit later to get iron. And you take animal husbandry if you feel like the tiles around you are pretty damn rubbish, and you decide you need horses to make up for what's going on. But as I spoke about earlier, this is a no reroll game, but we've locked into a nice start. We don't actually need horses here to boost our start. We've got these 2 great tiles in our first ring, our deer and our wheat, and we're going to grow to some nice tiles that just around out here anyway. In fact, the first tile we're going to grow to here is this copper. That's quite nice, although I would have preferred to grow to one of these hill coppers. But we'll take this one. It's 2 food and 2 gold, and it's never too bad. So we picked pottery because we want a shrine. I want to either take maybe it probably either be a food pantheon, maybe food from camps, because we'll have a couple of camps in here. But I'm more likely probably to take faith from copper, and that's not with, or maybe even desert faith, but that's not with the intention of getting religion at all. That's just with the intention of accumulating some faith earlier in the game to give us a better shot at being able to purchase something with faith nicer later on. So we'll turn, and we'll probably, I might hop across the river here just so that we can continue scouting this way. It looks like pretty open terrain, so it'll be good for a warrior to scout across, and yeah, it is very open terrain as opposed to down here, which is not bad. Now, we've revealed a 3rd luxury resource here. So far we had 2 luxury resources that are going to be owned by us, the furs and the copper. We've revealed marble, and that's really good. If only I'd moved here. Knowing that marble was here, I probably would have taken the choice to move. Having marble in the capital is going to be very powerful too, because you get the discounts building wonders for having marble within your city's radius. Improved marble. And, you know, you have a lot of difficulty building wonders on Deity AI, and in general, any bonus to wonder building is great. But, oh well, it's fine. We'll catch that marble with our next settle. We'll probably settle somewhere like right here, or right here with our first settle. Perhaps even just right here might be perfectly fine. We'll get marble within the 3rd ring, and we'll be quite happy about that. We might even go straight here, but I would quite like to be a bit closer to this stone, but starting next to the wheat would be really good. Maybe there is the best choice. Lots of hills within our rings. We don't really need to worry too much about having overlap with the capital there. Anyway, there's nothing else to do this turn. We've moved our warrior. That's pretty much the only thing we can do. We're waiting for the scouts to come out, so we'll go on. And we'll keep exploring. There's a city-state in there, so we're going to want to meet that one ASAP. We'll keep... Oh, we met Quebec City already. Didn't realise that they could see that far, but, you know, we'll take it. That's 30 gold from meeting this city-state. If you're the first person to meet a city-state, you get 30 gold from meeting them. If you're after the first person, then you only get 15. So it's really imperative to meet city-states first. whenever you move and reveal a new piece of terrain, you want to be zooming in, having a bit of a look to see if you can see a city-state's borders anywhere, because you definitely want to run to that ASAP. Being able to get 30 gold as opposed to an extra 15 gold is actually pretty useful early in the game, especially as America. I mean, look, the extra 15 gold buys me this copper tile here if we'd really needed it. We don't, but if we had really needed it, that would have bought it for us. But other than that, if you meet a faith city-state first, then what happens is they actually give you 8 faith, and 8 faith on quick speed is enough to get the first pantheon. We'll have a look here. Enhanced user interface will tell us that you only need 6 faith to get the first religious pantheon. You need 9 to get the second one. So if you meet a faith city-state early in the game, it gives you 8 faith. That gives you enough to get the first pantheon. So that can be really good. Someone who builds a shrine has to wait at least 6 turns after building their shrine to get the pantheon. We meet a faith city-state first. We get 8 faith. We don't have to build a shrine at all. But that's only if you meet them first. If you meet them second, it doesn't matter. They don't give you the 8 faith. It's much like the 15 gold bonus. Anyway, there's another city-state in here. I was just talking about zooming in. Look, we can see tiny little border here. Having a look. So we're going to meet them next. I can't think of a really efficient way to meet them, because it seems like the city-state is around here somewhere. But maybe we'll get lucky and they'll see us if we move to this grassland tile. Anyway, we'll go next turn because there's nothing else to do. And we'll get our first scout out. And the scout, we'll move it directly east. We want to get a good idea of what is immediately around our capital. Now, some people, when they build their scouts, they click on them and they just go straight, and we'll demonstrate next time, but they go straight to this button here and just click Explore Automated. That's a totally bad idea. The most important thing to do when within the first few turns of your game is to scout. And what you want to do is scout the immediate area around your city, because you want to reveal all of the great settling locations so that you can choose them. Now, if I don't reveal all of my land, I'm going to have absolutely no idea if there's anything good up here. Now, it's tundra, so the odds are that there probably isn't something good, but imagine if there's like 5 fish all the way around here, or like a bunch of coastal resources or something. That would make a tundra city eminently settleable. Now, with a tundra city, what you're looking for is, tundra hills are the same as normal hills, so you don't have to worry too much about the production in some tundra cities, but what you're really looking for is growth. That's what they tend to lack. So if I found a bunch of fish, I might settle with that. And so what I'm looking for around my starting area is to try and find additional unique luxuries that, where the lands around them are good enough to settle. And generally, and it's especially true for Deity AI, you want to be settling as many cities as you possibly can. So we're really, really looking for land to allow us to settle these cities. I guess we'll go here because we get more vision. Unfortunately, didn't meet the city-state. We might use this warrior just to loop up here to have a look at what's happening. I'll build a second scout here, and I'm building it because scouts are useful. When they're called a scout, people just think all they do is explore. But scouts are actually really, really useful for defending your units and defending your territory in the early game. They're not very good at attacking, which is why people think they're rubbish. And a lot of weaker players, they're inclined to use their melee units to attack other units, which is a pretty bad idea in general. We'll get around to that. But scouts are really good for defending. You fortify a scout, it can take plenty of hits from, a barbarian hand axe, or a barbarian, I forget what we call the barbarian brute or barbarian archers. They're really useful, and I mean they can even take down barbarian archers, so they're quite useful, and they can protect your settlers, they can protect your workers. So having extra scouts is great. And if you get 2 scouts out, it allows you to get even more scouting done in your land. And remember, the most important thing in the early game is figuring out where you're going to settle. So 2 scouts, it really, really helps you do that, and I recommend 2 scouts on tradition or liberty. Move on to the next turn because there's nothing else to do here. We'll meet the city-state. It's Ife, and we got the 8 faith, just as I was saying. So we got 30 gold and 8 faith, and that's because we met them first. If we met Ife second, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth, we'd only get 15 gold and no faith. So we're actually going to get our pantheon without even getting a shrine here. So I might be tempted to switch what we're researching, but we're really in no need of finding horses at all. So in this case, I won't. We'll just go ahead and take pottery. We'll jump up onto the hill here for extra sight. And with your units, and it's especially useful playing on Deity AI against other players, but if you're on a hill, you get extra sight. You get extra sight over the terrain that's kind of not as high as you. So in this case, we're on a hill, and if we had a hill that had no extra terrain features on it, then we would be able to see over that hill, and it's quite useful. In this case, however, we're seeing a lot of flat land, but look, we get our vision 1, 2, 3 tiles out by standing on the hill. If we're on flat land, we'd only get 2. The warrior, we're going to go scouting around up here, as we said. There seems to be absolutely nothing up here whatsoever, which is a real shame. Anytime you get a bit of land like this, it's a real crying shame, because it's just land you can't settle. And land really is a premium, especially on a vanilla map. Anyway, we're going to be growing next turn, and we're on production focus. Doesn't mean anything here, but we could nick an extra hammer if we go and buy one of these copper tiles. And I think I might do that, because we're going to want one anyway. So let's take that. We'll get 2... If we were to grow on production focus now, we'd probably just grow onto this deer tile, because it's the best yield tile with the highest production that we had. All our tiles were only 1 production. But because we're on production focus, our new citizen will go and immediately work this tile. We'll get the 2 hammers and the 2 gold, when previously we would have only got 1 hammer. The food is irrelevant, because as we spoke about, you get your yields at the start of the turn, and food is calculated first, and then the new citizen is born, and then you get the rest of your yields. So if we were to grow here, the food, we wouldn't get that at the start of our turn, because food has already been, but then we would get the 1 hammer, but this way we'll get an extra hammer and 2 extra gold, which is quite nice. So we skip on to the next turn, and we'll immediately go jump into this ruin. I do that first because it's a multiplayer thing. In multiplayer, you're playing simultaneous turns, so whoever gets their move off first tends to have the advantage. So the first thing I'll do is go into the ruins, just in case, you know, someone was right here and I'm on multiplayer and it's simultaneous turns and they go straight into this ruin. If I'd waited until the end of my turn, they might have taken it, so I guarantee it at the beginning of my turn by moving straight into it. And we can take our Pantheon. I'm not entirely sure still if we want Desert Folklore or if we want Faith from Copper. It might just even be better for us to go and take Earth Mother's Faith from Copper or Desert Folklore for Faith from Desert. Because I probably will shun a religion against Deity, we could even take, you know, something stupid like, where is it, Faith from Natural Wonders, and go work the Barringer Crater straight away, which, not really a great idea, especially for only 4 Faith, but could be considered. But I think I'll just go for God King. We'll get some early Faith. That won't be too bad. And we'll get the extra gold, hammer, science, culture, which probably gives us about what we need. At the end of the day, we're only going to be getting some early Faith from going for Copper, and it's only 2 food from the furs and the deer, whereas we don't get food from God King, but we get extra hammers and stuff, which is probably most important. So I want to take God King. We'll take God King. If we look at our city, look, our new citizen went on the copper tile, so it gave us our additional 1 hammer and 2 gold that we wouldn't have got by working the deer, but we'll switch back to the deer now because we want to grow. Now, I don't know what we're doing here. We actually spotted these whales too, so we have 4 unique luxuries in our immediate land. We have the copper, the furs, the marble, and the whales. So I think that's probably going to dictate what we're going to do. I think we'll try and squeeze 4 cities in here somehow, somewhere, but I don't know how yet. I imagine 1 city will probably go, I don't know, probably there, maybe, or there. For our first city, it's pretty low on production. So I don't know. We'll try and figure that out when it comes to it. And another one of our cities is definitely going to go in here or in here. I'll probably go here if Quebec City hasn't taken the cotton by the time we get a settler out. But Quebec City is definitely going to have taken the cotton by the time we get a settler out. So that's a bit of a moot point. Having these stone would be nice. Settling here, I don't suppose it really matters. Settling here, we get close to this wheat, and we can go and expand to these sheep, which is actually a really good tile to be working early game. So perhaps we'll go here. Guess there's 1 close to Marble. I don't know. We're America. We can probably buy tiles, so maybe I'll go here. Feels like a better spot because we're a bit closer to the stone. But we'll figure that out when the time comes.